Okay, with the Eldari Nightwing finished, going to go to another Warhammer 40k themed build. Actually, in this case, technically 30k themed because it's actually a Horus Heresy era model. But what we're going to be building is the Saturnine Dreadnought. Now, like with a lot of the modern kits, there is a lot of plastic involved. And this is going to be a very large Dreadnought when all is said and done. I've got 2 copies of each of the weapons packs. And when all is said and done, that one will also be, like I did with the Land Raider Proteus, painted up in Luna Wolves colors. Okay, after, 10 to 12 pieces each, and I may be underestimating, we have the finished leg assemblies minus the feet. Next up will be the hips. Now, these legs are not designed to move, but they are designed, they've got a ton of detail packed into them. And fortunately here, most of the part seams are actually where piece seams would be anyway on such a massive construct. But yeah, next up is the hip and waist section. Okay, I was wrong. Next up were the feet. Each toe on this foot uses 3 pieces, as well as the for lack of a better term, ankle being 2 pieces as well. So, you're looking 14 pieces on each foot. And after a lovely multi-piece assembly, the hip and waist sections are done. It's yeah, there's a lot of detail in there, but there are also a lot of parts in there. Next step will be to take this, put it with the legs and the feet. And at this point, assembly of the lower half of our Saturnine Dreadnought is now complete. There's still a whole lot to go for this guy, though. Alright, the slow task of building the torso itself has begun. Got the head inside the chest piece. Well, the head inside the front of the sarcophagus, anyway. The chest armor plates and the beginnings of the main shoulder armor plates, which will likely get glued on at the end of all of this. I've also got the basic pieces for the arms getting ready to go, and magnets in place for the weapons. Alright, at this stage, a lot of construction has been finished. We have the upper torso in place, as well as the sarcophagus. The upper arms are glued in. And we're moving right along. Okay, minus the weapons, I've got the shoulder pads set in place, but this thing is massive. Once I get the weapons in, it'll be even more massive, But at this point, next stage is to actually start construction of the weapons. Alright, first batch of arm-mounted weapons. In this case, the Plasma Bombard and the Disintegrator Cannon. Got one for each arm. And both sets of these have a lot of parts involved. I mean, that section there, for example, 3 parts plus 2 caps. Got the magnets in place for both sets. The Plasma Bombard has even more pieces involved than the Disintegrator Cannon, but we are moving along. And with a little help from my son supplying some little bitty frigging magnets, we have the torso mounted weapons ready to go on. I only built 1 pair of each set, but let's face it, that's all I really need since they're only available in matched sets. I've also got the magnets in the torso. Next up is the final set of big weapons. And now we reach the final stage of assembly with these things, with the noted exception of actually, putting the arm pieces into play. We have the inversion beamers and graviton pulverizers ready to go. At this point, I just need to glue the, for lack of a better term, elbow joints into the main body, and we are ready for the beginnings of paint. Okay, before heading into primer, did decide to make a couple of small additions to the Saturnine Terminator, notably the Luna Wolves emblem here, as well as on both shoulder plates. Also added one to the Saturnine Terminators, namely the Praetor in Saturnine armor. These guys got built a while back, but never got painted, so I didn't document them. But they're going to be the, for lack of a better term, honor guard for the Ancient here. Okay, in the spray room, we have our black base coat on everything. I've also painted the insides of the shoulder pads, as well as all of the weapons. Next up will be some white. Alright, continuing with the spray. Gone over everything now with a rather heavy dusting of Vallejo white in the rattle can. At this stage, I think it's safe to say we're basically ready for detail paint. Okay, after some thought, decided instead of leaving the weapons base white, I'd go ahead and give them an overall coat of Games Workshop's Lead Belcher, since that's the color most of them are going to wind up anyway. Alright, paintwork is seriously underway for the Dreadnought, as well as the Saturnine Terminators I've also got. I built them a while back, but never got around to painting them. So now looked like as good a time as any. The white got enhanced on the Dreadnought, mostly because I didn't like how it was looking. And of course, now I've got a whole bunch of black trimmed paint on the Saturnine Terminators. But that's where we're going. Fairly productive day at the painting table, working on getting detail paint on the weapon systems and a few areas of the Dreadnought and Terminators. I neglected to mention in the last update, the metallics on the Dreadnought and Terminators were initially picked out in Leadbelcher. I've since gone in and used some gold and red and black to further pick out the details. We're moving right along here. All right, after much assembly, much painting, more assembly in the case of the Dreadnought, but the Terminators, back when I built them, were every bit as part intensive as modern Games Workshop kits have proven to be. But we're going to call the builds done. Down here we have a heavy plasma bombard, a graviton pulverizer, a pair of disintegrator cannons, a pair of inversion beamers. We also have a couple of concussive resonators, as well as photonic incinerators. The heavy particle shredders are actually on the Dreadnought. Now, acting as the honor guard for the Dreadnought itself, we have a Praetor in Saturnine Terminator armor, as well as a squad of 4 Terminators in Saturnine armor. All 4 of the Terminators are armed with plasma bombards, as well as 2 being armed with the incinerator and 2 being armed with the concussive fist. The Praetor gets a lovely frigging hammer. I just liked the way that looked. These are all done in the colors of what I have come to call, and what the Hell Hounds refer to as the true 16th Legion, namely the Luna Wolves before they were rebranded and turned traitor. Now, for the focus of build of this project, the Saturnine Terminator, or as the Hell Hounds call him, the Ancient. This one's armed with a heavy plasma bombard, a graviton pulverizer, and the 2 particle shredders. Also done in the white and black of the Luna Wolves. There's a lot of detail packed in here, as well as all the weapons being magnetized. The trim was painted in black. The white is AK Interactive white. There was liberal use of AK Interactive paint pens, as well as a couple of Army Painter speed paint pens. But all in all, I'm very happy with how this turned out. As you can see, we got the markings for the 16th Legion, the Luna Wolves badge. Now, in the case of the badges on the Saturnine, those are 3D printed from files I found a while back. In the case of the Terminators, the Praetor got a 3D printed badge, and the rest of this group got decals from a Luna Wolf sheet I found online. Now, before I start to ramble, which I sense I'm about to do, I'm going to go ahead and include some stills at the end of this, and thank you all for watching.